Tales of the Sacred Sword. This week's tale is about taking the road less traveled. Episode 33, The Walk Home. Dagorol dismounted his horse and pet its mane. Then he entered the impressive, yet somehow still modest, castle of the Marquis of Mando. It was grand in size and short in gaudiness. Dozens of workers, from guards to gardeners, cooks and carpenters, maids and monks. With his letter in hand, Dagorol took in their somber faces as he passed. He pushed open the double-wide doors to the Marquis's court. "A letter from the Flame himself?" said the Marquis. He bit into a small apple, then gestured to Dagorol to bring him the letter. Then he pointed at the flame emblem on Dagorol's chest. "And delivered by one of his personal knights? It is an honor to serve, Marquis." Dagorol handed the Marquis the letter, then waited in silence, while he read it before asking the Marquis. "I must be returning to my homeland. Do you have a message for the Flame?" "The Flame's benevolence will not go unforgotten. Drought has ravaged these lands. First, drought caused us to cancel the fall harvest. Then the drought brought fires. Many good people lost their homes. And more." The Marquis tossed an apple to Dagorol. It was smaller than the apples in Peloria, Dagorol's homeland. Then the Marquis spoke again. "A word of warning, Knight of the Flame. Spare your eyes the travesty of this land. Stick to the main road. Although it may be faster, avoid the old forest path." Dagorol nodded to the Marquis. He sniffed the apple and placed it in his bag, then left the castle. He was glad to be rid of the sullen faces of the downtrodden people of this land. As he walked the main road, an old sign interrupted his thoughts. It showed the distances to many lands. The main road would take a week longer than the old forest path for Dagorol to return home. It was an easy decision. The rustle of decaying autumn leaves and a tranquil breeze were how the old forest path greeted Dagorol. A few leaves sparsely clung to the trees, but it would not last long. Within a week or two, they would all fall to the ground, like those that crunched under his horse's hooves. All in all, the old forest path seemed not only to be a shorter journey, but also a more peaceful one than the main road. Something spooked Dagorol's horse. It let out a terrible whinny. It bucked and Dagorol went flying. He landed on his back, then worked his way to his feet, which was difficult with the wind knocked out of him. He chased after his horse, but it had already fled from sight. Perhaps the old forest path wasn't shorter. Still, it would be more peaceful. Dagorol was confident his steed would return, although it had never behaved like that before. He wondered what had spooked it. Dagorol set out on foot at a hard pace. A decade of military service had built great marching speed and endurance. After rounding a couple of corners, he spotted a young woman meandering along the path. He caught up to her quickly and announced himself, as to not alarm her. "Good day, miss. I am Dagorol, a knight of the Flame of Peloria," said Dagorol. It was difficult to tell if she acknowledged him at all. Her response seemed somewhat aloof to Dagorel when she said,
I should be heading home.
As a knight of Peloria, I am duty-bound to escort a maiden safely on her journey. Please lead the way, my lady, said Dagorel as he walked beside her. A knight's duty never ended, even when he was on another errand. It didn't hurt that the young woman was beautiful. They walked for some time. She chose silence, and Dagorel was happy to oblige. He should have been concentrating on the location of his horse, but he could only concentrate on her. The old forest path was indeed beautiful.
The summer was dry,
said the young woman, breaking the silence. Dagorel remained silent. He knew these lands had undergone hardship, and didn't think it appropriate to speak on it as a foreigner. He looked around, taking in the landscape. Not a single leaf remained on a tree in this area.
The harvest festival was cancelled,
said the young woman, again breaking the silence. Yet Dagorel remained silent. He knew these lands had undergone hardship, and didn't think it appropriate to speak on it as a foreigner. He looked around, taking in the landscape. They had just branched onto another path, one leading toward a village.
The apples are smaller this year because we've had less rain than usual,
said the young woman. The words went into Dagorel's ear, but he did not take them in. They had entered a village, but all the trees around them were burnt to stumps. The houses were not much better. All the roofs were burnt away, leaving only the foundations. Absent-mindedly, Dagorel walked beside the young woman. She was talking casually, but Dagorel couldn't hear her. He could only see the destruction. Nothing remained of what was once a village. They reached a destroyed house. Roof gone, all but one wall burnt down. Cinders of where beds once were. The only thing inside that was still intact was the hearth. Dagorel watched as the young woman entered the house, then disappeared. He had escorted her home, but she had long been dead. Dagorel produced the apple the Marquis had given him. It was smaller than he was used to. He thought about how plants needed sunlight to grow, but they also needed rain. As he left that place of destruction, he hoped he would never see it again, and wondered if he had done the right thing. He finished his apple as the village was out of sight, then tossed its core in the bushes. As it landed, he heard a whinny. Dagorel's horse had returned. He pet its mane, then mounted him. A knight of Peloria's duty never ended, even when he was on another errand. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I write and record these tales weekly. If you enjoy them, please click the like and subscribe buttons, along with the bell notification, and leave a comment. Thank you.